Welcome to our Nightmare Survivors, a place where the most chilling tales of the night come alive. Here we bring you nightmare stories shared by real people, those who have faced the darkness and lived to tell their tales. Each story takes you deep into the eerie, mysterious world of the unknown, where fears take shape, shadows move, and survival becomes a triumph. From haunted dreams to encounters with the supernatural, we explore every corner of the human experience with nightmares. These are more than just stories. They're journeys through terror, resilience, and the unexplainable. If you love diving into the spine-chilling and thought-provoking, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button to become a part of our growing community of thrill seekers and story lovers. And don't stop there. Share your own nightmare experiences in the comments or through our page. Your story could be the next one we feature. Together, let's uncover the mysteries of the night. Subscribe now and don't forget to like, share, and hit the notification bell to never miss a story. Let's turn the fear of the night into a journey we take together. My name is Laura and I never believed in ghosts, until the night I slept beside one. I had always been a skeptic, the kind of person who laughed off ghost stories and found comfort in the certainty of science. But sometimes, life has a way of introducing you to the unexplainable in the most terrifying of ways. This story isn't something I've shared often, mainly because people would think I'm insane, but the truth still lingers in my mind like a shadow I can't shake. It all began when I moved into a quaint apartment in an older part of the city, a building with a reputation I foolishly ignored. The apartment was charming in its own way, with vintage wooden floors and tall windows that let in streams of light during the day. It was also affordable, which made it an irresistible choice for someone starting over after a bad breakup. The neighbors were friendly but oddly reserved when talking about the building itself. They would drop cryptic hints about its unusual history before quickly changing the subject. I dismissed their comments, chalking them up to local folklore or an attempt to spook the new tenant. For the first month, nothing out of the ordinary happened and I settled into my new home with ease. I decorated the place with cozy furniture and personal touches, creating a space that felt entirely mine. At night, the old wooden structure groaned and shifted, but I found the sounds comforting, a reminder of the building's age and character. Occasionally, I noticed strange drafts in certain rooms, but I shrugged them off as quirks of the architecture. Looking back, I realized those were the first signs that something wasn't quite right. The real strangeness began one evening after I returned from work, exhausted and eager to crawl into bed. As I unlocked the door, I felt a chill run down my spine, a fleeting sensation that I quickly dismissed. Everything inside looked exactly as I had left it. Yet there was an unshakable feeling that someone had been there. I double-checked the locks, convinced that my exhaustion was playing tricks on me, and settled in for the night. Over the next few nights, my dreams became increasingly vivid and unsettling. I would wake up feeling as though someone had been watching me, their presence lingering in the air. Once I even thought I heard faint whispers, soft and unintelligible, drifting through the darkness. At first, I tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was just the wind or my overactive imagination. But deep down, a sense of unease began to grow. One night, as I lay in bed scrolling through my phone, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. My heart raced as I turned my head, only to see the curtain swaying gently as if someone had brushed past it. The window was closed and there was no breeze in the room. I sat frozen, staring at the curtain, my breath caught in my throat. I told myself it was nothing, but my instincts screamed otherwise. Despite my growing discomfort, I stayed in the apartment, determined not to let my imagination get the better of me. I even started leaving a lamp on at night, a small comfort against the encroaching darkness. But the odd occurrences only intensified. Shadows that moved without explanation, objects slightly out of place, and that persistent feeling of being watched. It was as if the apartment itself was alive, aware of my every move. The night it happened was like any other. I had gone to bed early, feeling unusually tired and drained. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt an odd heaviness settle over the room, a weight that seemed to press down on my chest. In my dreams I saw a man, a pale, somber figure standing at the foot of my bed, his eyes dark and unblinking. When I woke up, the figure was still there. At first I thought I was dreaming, caught in that disorienting space between sleep and wakefulness. But the figure didn't fade and the room felt colder than ever. He was tall, dressed in an old-fashioned suit, his presence both silent and overwhelming. I wanted to scream, to run, but I couldn't move. My body was frozen, paralyzed under his intense gaze. The figure didn't speak, but his presence conveyed a deep sadness, as though he were burdened by something unspeakable. He moved slowly, sitting on the edge of the bed, the mattress sinking under his weight. My breath hitched as I felt the cold radiate from him, seeping into my skin. I closed my eyes tightly, praying that when I opened them he would be gone. Instead I felt a hand, icy and weightless, gently touch my shoulder. It wasn't aggressive or threatening, but it was enough to send waves of terror through me. I finally found my voice and screamed, the sound piercing the stillness of the night. When I opened my eyes, the figure had vanished, leaving behind only the faint scent of something ancient and decayed. After that terrifying encounter, I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I sat upright in bed, every creak and groan of the apartment amplified in the oppressive silence. The room still felt cold, as though his presence lingered long after he had disappeared. When the first rays of sunlight pierced through the curtains, I finally allowed myself to relax, though not entirely. I couldn't shake the memory of his touch or the way his mournful eyes seemed to plead for something I couldn't understand. The next day I considered leaving the apartment for good, but practicality held me back. I couldn't afford to break my lease, and besides, where would I go? Instead, I convinced myself that what I had experienced was just sleep paralysis, a common phenomenon I had read about before. It was a comforting lie, but deep down I wasn't entirely sure. As the days went by, the apartment felt increasingly oppressive. The cheerful charm it once held was now overshadowed by an air of unease. I avoided the bedroom as much as possible, spending my evenings on the couch in the living room with all the lights on. But no matter where I went, that cold sensation seemed to follow me, brushing against my skin like a ghostly reminder of that night. I began to notice strange marks on the walls, faint scratches that hadn't been there before. They were small, almost unnoticeable, but their presence unnerved me. I tried scrubbing them off, but they seemed to be etched into the paint, like scars the apartment refused to let go of. Each time I found a new mark, my anxiety deepened, the feeling of being watched more persistent than ever. One night, as I was lying on the couch, I heard a soft knock on the bedroom door. My heart stopped. The apartment was small and I was the only one there. The knock was deliberate, not the random creak of an old building settling. Gathering what little courage I had, I approached the door, my hands trembling as I reached for the handle. When I opened it, the room was empty, but the icy coldness was back, stronger than ever. The incidents escalated over the following weeks. Objects I knew I hadn't touched would be moved to different places. Once I came home to find the bedroom window wide open, though I was certain I had closed and locked it before leaving. The curtains billowed in the wind, their movement eerily rhythmic, like they were being guided by unseen hands. The figure returned sporadically, always in the dead of night. Sometimes he would stand at the foot of the bed, silent and still, his presence as unnerving as the first time I saw him. Other times I would wake to the sensation of the mattress dipping beside me, as if he had lain down next to me. The weight of his presence was suffocating, and his sadness seemed to seep into me, leaving me emotionally drained. I tried researching the building's history, desperate for answers. What I found only deepened my fear. Decades ago, a man had lived in my apartment, a recluse who rarely left and was known for his melancholic demeanor. He had died under mysterious circumstances, his body discovered weeks after his passing. The details were sparse, but it was enough to confirm my growing suspicion. The man I had been seeing wasn't just a figment of my imagination. Desperation drove me to seek help. I contacted a paranormal investigator, someone who specialized in hauntings. When she arrived, she immediately sensed the energy in the apartment. Her demeanor was calm but serious, her gaze darting around as if she could see things I couldn't. She performed a ritual, burning sage and speaking in low rhythmic tones. For a moment the air felt lighter and I dared to hope that the nightmare was over. But that night he came back. His presence was angrier this time, the air crackling with tension. I woke to find him standing inches away from my face, his dark eyes filled with something I could only describe as anguish. His lips moved but no sound came out, and yet I understood his message clearly. Leave. The message left me torn. Was he warning me of danger, or was he the danger? Either way, I knew I couldn't stay any longer. The next morning, I packed what I could and left the apartment, breaking my lease without a second thought. As I drove away, I glanced back at the building one last time, half expecting to see him watching from the window. Leaving the apartment should have brought me peace, but it left me with more questions than answers. I stayed at a friend's house for a while, avoiding any mention of what had happened. How could I explain that I had fled because of a ghost? Even I questioned the reality of my experience, wondering if it had all been some bizarre trick of the mind. Despite my doubts, I couldn't ignore the impact the apartment had left on me. Nights were no longer restful, and even in my friend's home I found myself waking up in cold sweats, expecting to see him standing by my bed. The ghost, or whatever he was, had left a mark on me that went far deeper than fear. Eventually, I decided to speak to someone about it, reaching out to a therapist who specialized in trauma. I didn't label my experience as paranormal, but I described the feelings. The fear, the sadness, the overwhelming sense of helplessness. Through these sessions, I began to untangle the emotions I had buried, though the memory of that ghostly figure remained as vivid as ever. To this day, I can't be certain what I encountered in that apartment. Was he a restless spirit tied to the place where he had lived and died? Or was he a manifestation of my own fears and loneliness, brought to life in a house filled with echoes of the past? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, in a space where reality and the supernatural blur. I never returned to the apartment, but I still think about it from time to time. I wonder if someone else has moved in, if they felt the same chills, heard the same whispers. Part of me hopes that whatever tied him to that place has finally been resolved, that he's found peace. But another part of me knows that some spirits are too restless to ever truly leave. What I do know is that the experience changed me. I'm no longer the skeptic I once was, dismissing stories of the paranormal with a wave of my hand. Instead, I've come to respect the unknown, to acknowledge that some things are beyond our understanding. Whether it's ghosts, energy, or something else entirely, the world is filled with mysteries we may never solve. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that fear has a way of teaching you about yourself. In the face of the unexplainable, you're forced to confront not only what scares you but also what you believe in. For me, the experience was a humbling reminder of how small we are in the grand scheme of things, how little we truly know about the world around us. Now, when I hear stories of hauntings or paranormal encounters, I listen with an open mind. I've realized that everyone has their own experiences, their own brushes with the unknown, and it's not my place to judge. If anything, I feel a strange kinship with those who have faced the unexplainable and come out the other side. The ghost in my apartment may never have meant to harm me, but his presence served as a stark reminder of how thin the veil is between our world and whatever lies beyond. Whether he was warning me or simply trying to communicate, I'll never truly know. But I'm grateful to have left when I did, to have escaped before the fear consumed me entirely. Sometimes I find myself reflecting on the sadness in his eyes, the way he seemed burdened by something unseen. It's a haunting image, one that stays with me even now. I hope that wherever he is, he's found some measure of peace. And I hope that in telling this story, I've given him the recognition he seemed so desperately to need. If there's one message I'd share with anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation, it's this: trust your instincts. Something feels wrong, it probably is. And sometimes the best thing you can do is to walk away no matter how irrational it might seem. Thank you for listening to my story. And if you've ever had an experience like mine, don't be afraid to share it. Sometimes speaking about it is the first step toward finding peace. Got your own nightmare story? Share it with us in the comments or reach out. We'd love to feature your experience. Hit the like button, share this video, and turn on notifications to never miss a new upload. Let's explore the scariest stories together, one nightmare at a time.